Hello there, 7th graders. This is teacher Krishna, and welcome to our science class for week number 14. Before we start, thank you one more time for accessing all of the online lessons that we have had for you, and of course for completing all of the assignments that you have had until today. Before we start, let's follow the instructions that we have every week. Get your physical and digital book, access the Google Classroom, download your Word document, save it in your Science folder, and of course, name it as it is specified right below. And now that we're here, and guys, I noticed that last week, a lot of students did not create or completed the right evaluation. Last week, the evaluation was a PowerPoint presentation. It was not a Word document. So please pay attention to the evaluation section and to all of the session that we have here. So there are not misconceptions and you all can actually get the points that you should, okay? And as we move, remember to take notes on your Word document. That's very important to keep track of the most important things from here. And one more time, sometimes the Word document is going to be the evaluation for the week. Sometimes it is not going to be, just like last week. So please pay attention to that. Okay, so this week we're going to study lesson number 2, pages 80 to 85. And it's always important to start with our end in mind. And our end in mind for this week explains how the size and shape of oceans are continuously changing by studying a map. So keep track of this on your Word document. So the topic that we're going to talk about today is seafloor spreading. So in 1952, Mary Thorpe tried mapping the ocean floor just with the information gathered by the ships. And this is something very interesting because ships were using sonars. So basically, the sonar is a device that sends waves of sound inside the water. And now those waves of sound are going to touch the ground and touch several objects that I found around. And then it is going to come back to the sonar. So that information is the one that Mary Thorpe was using to try to map or try to draw the ocean floor. And thanks to that, they found something called mid-ocean ridges, which are like long chains of mountains in there. And scientists used sonars in the 1900s to map the ocean ridges, so like I was telling you about. And surprisingly, they were found all around the world. So look, right here, this is a picture that represents a mid-ocean ridge. So a mid-ocean ridge is what I was telling you about. Basically, a group of mountains inside the Earth, okay? But just like you can see right in the middle, they have some magma that it's possible to go out of it. And we're going to study a little bit later on. So here is a world map of all of the mid-ocean ridges that were found. So just like you can see, there are a lot. And they are like a huge change of mountains that go around the ocean floor. And that of course had to be identified through a sonar. Sea floor spreading. So seafloor spreading means to continually add new material to the ocean crust. So it's something very interesting, but actually the seafloor can be changed and it can be renewed. But if I'm not mistaken, in the book it's mentioned that it takes around 10 million years in order to, or 10,000 years or 10 million years. I'm not clear. I don't clearly remember. You will find it in there to renew all of the ocean floor. Okay. So magma goes upwards, cools down, and the resulting rocks move either side of the ocean ridge. So just like I mentioned before, in the middle there is magma. So magma goes out of the ocean ridge, And since it gets in contact with the water, it cools down and it moves either side of the ridge, renewing the ocean floor. Okay. And what evidence do scientists have about these theories? Well, rocks in the shapes of pillows close to the mid-ocean ridge. And what is interesting is that these rocks only form when magma cools pretty quickly. Magnetic stripping on both sides of the ridges. So what happens is that close to magma regions, and when these rocks form in that way, what happens is that they are going to get a certain type of magnetism. So scientists extracted rocks from there, and they noticed that the magnetism was present in groups of rocks. So after a while, they lose their magnetic properties. So the closest the rocks were extracted from the ridge, the highest the magnetic properties the rocks have. And the layers have the same size and properties. So one more time, if it's pretty close, they have a high magnetism, but if they are far from the mid-ocean ridge, the rocks have a lower magnetism. And the rocks grow exponentially at the same rate of time. And the farther from the ridge, the older the rocks are. That's another thing to take into consideration. Remember, magma goes out from the ridge, it cools down, and then it goes either way of the ridge. But basically what happens is that older rocks are found farther from the ridges. Okay. So right here we have another picture that represents it. That sort of mountain is like right the middle of the mid-ocean ridge. So you can see that the rocks are going to be produced. They're going to go down because of the hill that is created by the mountain. And they are going to start going away from the middle of the ridge. So they're going to lose their magnetic properties, and of course, they are going to be older and older. So now let's go to the evaluation. Please read pages 80 to 85 and complement your summary. So especially read pages 84 and 85. Then create a PowerPoint presentation with information from your summary, and do not copy and paste, please. So one more time, the evaluation this week is not a Word document. The evaluation this week is a PowerPoint presentation. I found some students that just copied my presentation and they sent it to me. No, guys, you don't have to copy and paste my presentation or information from Google. You have to read and use your own words. And I'm going to be very strict this week because we already sent to you the rules in the WhatsApp groups. And it's mentioned that if you do not create the material for your evaluation, you will have 0. So if I find that you copy it directly from somewhere, from my document or from Google, you're going to have a 0. So please avoid that and use your own words to create your presentation. So please include your name, grade, section, topic, and ending line as an introduction to your presentation. Add images to your presentation, and lastly, add transitions and animations. What is the rubric that I will use to evaluate? Completing meaningful content, 1 point. Images, 1 point. Grammar, 1 point. General structure of the presentation, introduction, body, and conclusion, 1 point. General appearance of the presentation, 0.5 points. And animations and transitions, 0.5 points. Okay, that'll be it for today's class, guys. So I hope you are doing well, and I will be seeing you next week. Goodbye.